Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to cover about the national income and related aggregates. So this is basically from your macroeconomics and this carries a weightage of 10 marks. Okay, this entire unit is quite huge, so we will move step by step. Initially in few sessions we are going to understand the terminologies because 70 to 80% of the unit is practically numerically based. Okay, so in order to solve those questions we are going to first understand the basic terms of it. So the first one says factor income. The students' factor income is basically where economic services are rendered. We know there are four kind of factor services: land, labor, capital and entrepreneur, and they generate your rent, wages, interest and profit. This we have done in class 10th. So whenever two kind of bilateral transactions are taking place and in where economic services are being rendered, that is a part of your factor income. And how is it different from the transfer income? Transfer income is basically a unilateral payment where the income that you're receiving. For example, you can say scholarship, donations, charity and your old age pensions, where you're getting old or you're getting senior and you're getting some kind of a compensation for it. So this is the basic difference between the two. And in case of the transfer income, no kind of factor services are rendered. The next one is your depreciation. Now depreciation, those who are from the commerce background in accountancy, you must have heard about this term, and this is nothing but the decrease in the value of the fixed asset, right? And we expect that a fixed asset is purchased, let's say a car, we require some kind of maintenance, so we give it for servicing, so some kind of obsolescence will be there, the normal wear and tear, and accordingly a provision is also made for this. So that is why we use the word expected obsolescence, and there is productivity of the firm is not at all hampered. But this particular term is quite different from the another, which is the capital loss. It's a part of your course curriculum. So capital loss is basically a situation where some kind of an unforeseen event took place. Let's say there was a theft or a natural calamity like earthquake or a flood took place, or there was a firing in the factory due to which your fixed assets got destroyed. So that was the loss for the firm, and of course it does affect the productivity of a particular firm because we were not expecting that such kind of a loss will take place, and accordingly now we have to compensate for it, right? So that's why it is used by the word unexpected obsolescence. Clear? So that was the difference between your capital loss and your depreciation. The next one is investment. We have heard about this word a lot many times, and this is nothing but the addition in your capital stock. Okay, that was the theoretical understanding, but in your class 12 there is also a formula attached to it where it says net investment is nothing but gross investment minus the depreciation. Now always remember in this unit, wherever you find the word gross, keep this thing in mind that depreciation will always be included to it. And whenever we talk about the word net, over here your depreciation is excluded. Okay, so whenever we say the term GDP basically means gross domestic product. So under this your depreciation is included in the GDP, while when we say NDP, net domestic product, over here your your depreciation is not included. So that is why in order to understand the investment in real terms, they took the terminology as net investment, where they are excluding the depreciation from the gross investment. So this much only you need to understand for the time being. We'll slowly move step by step to the bigger picture. For now you can just write down the formula of your net investment. Okay, moving ahead, then we have very important concept of normal resident. Now what is a residentship? It's basically an economic concept, students, where a person become a normal resident of that country where they have the economic interest and where they are residing for more than an year. Okay, so keep that thing in mind whenever we will be solving the statements for normal resident. We will be always focusing on the person and not the place. This is also quite different from the citizenship. Citizenship is basically a scenario where a person was born in a nation and he became the citizen of that particular country, and this is quite different from your residentship. Nobody is going to ask you the direct meaning of it. Such kind of indirect statements will be given to you, and then you have to tell, and maybe it can come in kind of MCQ or true and false and give proper reasoning. So let's solve these few statements. You have to tell whether the particular statement is a part of the normal resident of our country India or not. So always remember, focus on the person. So an Indian citizen working in the office of World Bank in New Delhi. So whenever such kind of a statement is given over here, since Indian is working, so that will be considered as the normal resident of India. Next, Indian working in the UNO office located in America. Okay, and that is also less than a year. Had he been in America for more than a year, he would be the normal resident of America. But since the year, the time duration is less than a year, so he will be considered as the normal resident of India only. A Russian tourist who stays in India for 2 months. So again, a Russian, second, 2 months, it's not more than a year, so he will not be considered as the normal resident of India. Next, and also you will find a lot of exceptions to it. The one of which is this one: Indians working in Nepal and crossing the border daily. So whenever you are given the border questions, always remember that the person will be treated as the normal resident of the country where they live. Okay, where they live and not where they work. So though he is working in Nepal, since he is an Indian, so he will be considered as the normal resident of India only. There are another exceptions to it, like you can say that the international organizations like your UNO, WNO, they're not considered as the normal resident of the country, right? So this is basically you have to understand. But if the employees are working in those international organizations, then they will be the residents to the country where they belong. Okay, so there are a lot of exceptions. You need to practice as many questions as you can for the normal resident, but always focus on the person. Domestic territory, always focus on the place. This is another concept where domestic territory says it's basically the political and the geographical frontier of a particular country, right? And so accordingly we will say that whether a person is a normal resident, is not a normal resident, we do not care. We will be focusing on the geographical and the political frontiers, and will always be focusing on the place. Let's take few another statements to it. The first one says profits earned by non-resident company in India. Whether normal resident or not a normal resident, we are not concerned. It's profits are earned in our own geographical and political frontier, so it will be included in the domestic territory of India. Next one says Japanese embassy in New Delhi. So this is an exception to it. Whenever embassy questions are given to you, you will be focusing on what kind of embassy it is. Since a Japanese embassy is an embassy which will be working for the people of their own country, Japan, so they will not be included as the domestic territory of India. Next, salaries received by US residents working in the US bank in India. Focus on the place, so it will be included in the domestic territory of your country. Next, Indian embassy in London. Again, if the place is London, we do not matter. Whenever the embassy questions are given, we focus on what kind of embassy it is. Since Indian embassy is working for the people of our own country, so it will be included in the domestic territory of India. Next, profits earned by the Indian company in Singapore. The place is Singapore, so again it will not be included. Next, the office of Reliance Industries in New York. So again, the place is New York, it will be not considered as the domestic territory of India. So always whenever domestic territory is given, focus on the place, normal resident, focus on the person. So this thing you have to keep in mind. Practice as many questions as you can for normal residents and domestic territory, because this will be creating a foundation for you in order to calculate the domestic income and the national income, right? I will not move ahead to it. So I want that, I hope this much is clear to all of you. And before we go ahead, first clear your concepts, and this thing should be quite strong about the normal residents and the domestic territory. So practice as many questions as you can, and you can refer to Sandeep Garg. It's quite a very good book that we have. Okay, right. So in the next session again, we will be talking about few terminologies, and we'll try to have the conversions also of domestic and the national income. I hope my video and the lesson we had is clear to all of you. In case there's any doubt, you can please mention in the comment section. And thank you for watching the video. In the next class also, we are going to cover the national income only. And if you're liking my videos, please like, share and subscribe to as many as you can. Okay, thank you for watching the video, students.